Well, this Sunday morning on main event television, it is the world heavyweight title between the champion Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, who is headed to Saudi Arabia to try and get his belts back. The promoter of the event is Hearn, who's been good enough to join me as he drives around the streets there in Jeddah at the moment. Eddie, how are you feeling? This is a huge fight, not only for you and Matchroom, but for Anthony Joshua, who's given you such an incredible journey so far. You must be pretty nervous about the weekend.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for joining me on location, literally. Had to run to a meeting out here and we're in Jeddah. It's been a great experience and we're looking forward to a great fight, Ben. You know, this is the World Heavyweight Championship. It's the biggest prize in the sport and a huge fight. The pound-for-pound number one, in my opinion, Alexander Usyk, against, I believe, the best heavyweight in the world. I'm biased, but he's going to have to prove that on Saturday. We expect a brilliant heavyweight title fight.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the fight, as we always do when Anthony Joshua is in the ring. You stood between the pair of them this time around. A bit of difference physically, both of them much bigger. Usyk significantly so, 8 kilos or so. We're expecting him to come in heavier than last time. How did it feel being between them?
Yeah, a different vibe from AJ in this fight. You know, a lot more strictly business. You know, he knows what he has to do. He has to change the style that he boxed with. Obviously, in the first fight, he has to be more aggressive. Usyk's size, you know, I would say he looked fleshy in the photo shoot, but I don't know whether he might have the intention to stand and try and push AJ back in this fight. You know, I don't think he likes being walked down at all. And he's going to know that AJ is going to be a lot more physical in this fight. He's going to try and put the pressure on a lot more. And maybe he's added the weight to try and use that as a resistance, to stand and be a little bit more robust on the inside and in those exchanges. So I'm expecting a fire fight. I don't believe this fight goes 12 rounds at all. I certainly don't want it to go 12 rounds because AJ's got to put a dent in this guy early.
Yeah, that seems to be what Anthony believes Alexander Usyk is doing. He says that he's bulked up to try and take more punishment in this fight. So I'm guessing that Anthony Joshua is expecting a war in this fight.
Yeah, Usyk will definitely take more punishment in this fight. AJ landed very little in the first fight. And, you know, Ben, sometimes when you fight Usyk, there's like this, you know, almost a fear of this sort of wizardry that he possesses. And you can concentrate so hard, it can almost drain you in the fight. Tony Bellew said it, you know, after 6 rounds, he was winning the fight and he just felt exhausted after because he was concentrating so hard. So the fact that AJ shared those 12 rounds with him, I think will put him in great stead in this fight. You know, I think he'll know about what Alexander Usyk does. But also, look, Usyk's also shared the room with the ring with AJ. He's going to also improve in this fight, but he's going to have to come down to the physicalities and size. Evander Holyfield, who's out here, talked about, you know, he has to be the bigger man in there, and he has to use his physicalities, and that's the way he can secure victory.
Where do you think he's at, Anthony, at this stage of his career, physically and mentally? He's made a lot of changes. You've been there for the entire journey. What's he like now under a new training regime that features Robert Garcia?
I think he's in the prime of his career. You know, he's brought a new trainer in. There's a great freshness in the camp. There's a great positivity in the camp. He says it very well. You know, he's a very, very intelligent young man. It all comes down to the night. You know, you can do the hard work in camp, and you must do the hard work in the camp. But at this level, you have to get it right on the night. He's a guy that is pretty good at adopting game plans and strategies when he believes in them. And you know, the Ruiz 2 fight was a great example of that. So he's confident. He's nervous. He's putting pressure on himself. He knows he must win this fight, and we really believe he will.
What does this one mean for you? We've seen you through the careers of all of your fighters. I remember in the ring when Darren Barker won his world title against Daniel Gill, you were jumping around and carrying on, and we've seen it so many other times. What's it going to mean if Anthony can do it for Matchroom, for you and for himself on the weekend?
Well, I mean, firstly, how proud we'll feel of him, you know, and how much he deserves the adulation, because from the very young age in his career, he's always taken the biggest challenges, and now he's fighting the pound-for-pound number one back-to-back. You know, he deserves a lot of credit for his resume. Personally, he's my mate. You know, I live and breathe with these guys, and some of you have close relationships with others. This is probably one of the closest I'll ever get to a fighter. We've been with him for 9 years since his professional debut, since he won the Olympic gold. And it's the pinnacle of the sport out here in the Middle East. And if he can get the victory, which I believe he will, you'll see me going straight over that top rope, making a fool out of myself as I've done before, because we live it and we love it. And we live every second with these guys. These guys are warriors. They deserve absolutely every ounce of credit and respect they get. And, my old man always used to say to me, if you can get 1% of the adrenaline that your fighter gets when they walk into the ring, you're a lucky guy. Well, I feel like sometimes I get 60 or 70%, and I'm sure that'll be the same on Saturday.
Let's just say it doesn't go your way, and obviously you're preparing that it does, and Anthony is as well, and he doesn't want to think about that, but you can. What's the plan if say you go the distance again in this fight and Usyk gets the victory? What's next for Anthony Joshua? Because some have been saying retirement's an option. I don't know if that's realistic, but what would you be planning?
I think anyone that says that is a clown. I think that talking about a guy that's in the prime physically of his career, he's never really taken punishment in fights. If you lose to the pound-for-pound number one, why on earth should you retire from the sport? I think he's still got a lot to learn. He's still improving. But, of course, we want victory. And it all comes down in this sport, Ben, as you know, about hunger and desire. One day you might wake up and say, I don't want it anymore. And if you do in this game, you have to leave. But right now, he's hungrier than ever. He's enjoying the sport. He loves the sport. He's physically in his prime. He feels like he's got many years left to come. But no thinking about losing at the weekend, just victory.
Tyson Fury is not someone you want to talk about during an Anthony Joshua fight week, but so often he puts himself into the conversation. This time around he's retired a couple of times. It would appear perhaps this one is real because he's given at least the Ring magazine belt back. But what are you thinking about if Joshua were to win? Is Fury certainly coming back and fighting him? Is that the way you're thinking?
I think so. I don't think he'd fight Usyk. He's turned that opportunity down before, but I think he'd fight AJ. I think he likes that fight. Certainly the biggest fight probably in the history of boxing. So I think you'd see him come out of retirement for the 420th time if AJ was to get the win at the weekend.
Did you talk to the WBC about potentially getting his belt to be a part of this fight at the weekend?
I didn't. No, I didn't because many reasons. Obviously, one, they're going to give him a couple of weeks. But two, I don't think AJ wants to be undisputed without beating Tyson Fury. I think in his mind, he wants to prove he's the best heavyweight in the world. To do that, you have to go through Fury and Usyk along the way. So it settles all arguments, and I think he's glad that belt's not on the line this weekend.
What do you think happens with that belt? Should Fury walk away and stay retired? We've got Deontay Wilder fighting on October the 15th against Robert Helenius. Do you reckon there's a chance that the WBC heavyweight title belt goes into that fight?
Yeah, I do actually. I do think that's a possibility. Obviously, I hope Fury stays in the sport. But as I said earlier, if the hunger goes, you should get out. But I think it's going to be too much of a tease for him. Look, win, lose or draw, to be honest with you, the AJ fight remains massive. But if AJ can get the win, I'm 100% sure Fury will fight him.
Gee, you've got a bit going on, Eddie. Obviously, you're in Saudi Arabia at the moment, but it's a month away from Canelo against Gennady Golovkin. It just doesn't get any bigger than that. That's a hugely exciting fight. What have your communications been like with Canelo Alvarez in the last week or two?
Yeah, good. I spoke to him yesterday. He's in great shape. He's training harder than ever for this fight. I mean, firstly, because he's coming off a loss, but also because, he wants to end the career of Gennady Golovkin. In his words, he wants to put the hurt on him. He wants to knock him out. It's going to be an explosive fight, and it certainly won't be going 12 rounds.
And we know that you're coming to Australia at some point. You were here to announce this fight between Brock Jarvis and Liam Parrow a month or two ago. It appears that we have a date now of October the 15th. I don't know, are you heading back out to Australia for that fight? Will you be here?
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't officially announced it, but we pretty much have now with you. So October the 15th will be in Brisbane. We can't wait. And the week before, of course, we got Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. So it's a huge global calendar and schedule that we have. And I'll be in Australia, and we can't wait for our first show there.
Yeah, well, you've put it up on BoxRec, so I didn't have to be a genius to figure out.
Not me. They do these things. They jump the gun, but we'll be there.
No doubt. Can you tell us about the undercard at all? Because obviously you've got Sky Nicholson, Dempsey McKean. You talked about a lot of other potential fights on that undercard. Anything you can reveal to us?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Dempsey will be in a big heavyweight fight. Sky Nicholson will be fighting for her first professional title. And also a lot of big all-Australian clashes that we're putting together at the moment. We want to come and make a huge splash in October. And October the 15th, that'll be the start of our journey there.
Dempsey McKean is obviously someone of huge interest to us here. He's world ranked, very talented southpaw heavyweight. You were ringside to see Justice Hooney in his most recent fight. Do you think those two meet at some point?
Right. Yeah. Great all Australian fight. I mean, Dempsey's well ranked now in the world governing bodies. You know, he's looking for a big fight, the Joseph Parker fight. See what happens with him, with Joe Joyce as well. But Dempsey's there, ready to go. He'll be in a good fight in October and then ready to dive straight in the deep end.
And we're very excited to see Ebony Bridges in action again, a world champion that we've got who's under your banner at the moment. Shannon O'Connell's been mandated to fight against Ebony for that world title. Do you see that fight happening next? I know there's been some chat from your side potentially of giving Ebony a voluntary in between times, or would you move towards that fight?
We already had a voluntary scheduled, so we're dealing with that with the IBF and No Limit. She has no problem fighting Shannon O'Connell. I think it's bizarre to not be allowed to have a voluntary when you've just won the title, and there was no pre-fight, agreement in place to face the mandatory. So we're speaking to the IBF. She has no problem fighting Shannon O'Connell, and if we have to do that fight, we'll do it next.
Would you like to do that fight in the UK, or do you think that's an Australian fight?
You'd think Australian, but to be honest with you, Ebony's a big name in the UK. So I think we'll see that one in the UK.
And we'll let you go, Eddie, but I just wanted to get your thoughts as well. I know Lawrence Okoli might be leaving your banner at some point, but he does have a cruiserweight world title at the moment. You would have seen Jaya Pataya's performance against Morris Bradis. That'd be a great fight at some point.
Yeah, we have a fight left with Lawrence. We'll see what happens there, but great win by Jaya Pataya. I watched the fight. It was a great show as well. Just shows you the growth of Australian boxing. And we got a really big fight. We're going to be announcing an Australian signing in the next sort of 24, 48 hours, who's going to have a big fight over in America as well. Really exciting times for Australian boxing, and we look forward to being a big part of it.
Can you give us a hint what you're talking about with the announcement?
No.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, well, Eddie, great to catch up with you. I see you've got to your destination now. We're really looking forward to this fight. It's Sunday morning Australian time, and what a fight it is. What's your prediction? What happens when Anthony Joshua gets in and takes on Alexander Usyk in this rematch?
I think you're going to get a very dramatic fight, a great fight. I truly believe Anthony Joshua will win this fight by stoppage. I've got everything crossed, and tune in over in Australia and watch one of the biggest fights in the sport.
Yeah, he certainly will. All right, thanks so much for your time, Eddie Hearn. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck to you and good luck to Anthony.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
That's Eddie Hearn, the biggest promoter in the world. I'm Ben Damon. I'll see you at the fights.